There we go. Hi again, everybody, he said, and welcome to this week's edition of Inside Furman Athletics. You'd figure the radio guy would know to turn the microphones
Little details.
up,
You're
right?
fine. I got confidence in you.
Yeah. I am Dan Scott. That is Andrew Burr. We are going to be talking women's soccer over the course of the next few minutes. Good to have you with us on this week's edition of IFA. How are you, my friend?
I am doing very well. Thank you for asking.
As Hunter Reed said, we saw the security detail and everything ahead of you on your way up here, as your celebrity status would dictate would be the case.
Part of this building, this beautiful office, this beautiful view, it's hard to get up here. You guys make it really tough. High security.
Yeah, something like that. It is a gorgeous view, though, isn't it?
It's very nice.
I keep asking Jason if he will let me charge for the view, and he keeps saying no. I even offered him a cut. And he said no, so.
I'll mention it to him.
There you go.
I've got connections with that guy.
Do you? How are things in the Burr household?
We're doing very well. Excited about this school year has started. I've got two of my children are at Furman University. My oldest son, Casey, is a junior who is running cross country for Robert Gary. And I've got a son, Jeremy, who is a freshman who has a dorm that overlooks beautiful Stone Stadium. So I'm not sure if he's keeping an eye on me or the other way around, but it's nice having both of them on campus. Obviously, I loved my Furman experience. I met my wife here at Furman, and now that my kids are enjoying that Furman experience is really special. We didn't force them to come to Furman. It wasn't a rule they had to come to Furman. They wanted to be at Furman. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited to have the two of them on campus. And then Sophie, our youngest, she's a senior at Wade Hampton High School. And Furman could be in her future as well.
I can answer that question. Can you see into the dorm room from Stone Stadium?
Possibly.
Because I know he can see the stadium from outside. So I think it's more him keeping an eye on you.
It probably is.
Yeah.
It probably is.
Anyway, let's talk about this soccer team. 4-3-1 through the non-conference schedule. How would you describe your first 8 games?
So we've been hard at work, and coaches, support staff, the players have put a lot into this. Came in fit. You know, there's some things you can't control, and we've had a couple of injuries. We had one of our freshmen, kind of our highest ranked freshman. She notified us shortly before preseason started that she had signed a pro contract. So excited for her. So she's playing for Pachuca out of Mexico. But those are some holes that we're trying to fill between signing a professional contract. We've had a couple of surgeries here recently that were season-ending surgeries. So, the way we look at it is we're all prepared, we're all fit, and the next person needs to step up and fill some holes. Unfortunately, some of the holes are big ones to fill, big shoes to fill. Nieva Gaither, a Southern Conference Player of the Year. It's just hard to replace players like that. But I'm excited about the opportunity for new players to step in.
And what it does, obviously, when sport is doing what it's supposed to do at the ground roots level, it's preparing you for life. And what I'm hearing here is that there are some adverse situations that these young ladies are having to deal with now, that it's going to prepare them for things when they get finished with their athletic careers and they go out into the real world.
Absolutely, and that's what we're here for. And yes, it's to try to win games, and it's helped to develop some good soccer players. But at the end of the day, it's about what are we doing for these young men and young women as they leave Furman University and not only go on to start a job, but a career, start a family. That's what we're preparing them for. And nobody ever promised this was going to be easy. And you're right, you come into some situations that are difficult. How do we respond? And I'm anxious to see. I feel a little bit like the start of the SoCon season, which starts on Thursday, a little bit of a chance for us to hit the reset button. No, we have a winning record and we're doing okay, but we need to improve in lots of different areas. And this gives us an opportunity to say, okay, deep breath, reset button. Here we go. Thursday night, we start the SoCon season, and all the SoCon teams are basically 0-0 right now.
The care that has become so front and center for college athletes of late, not just the physical care, but the mental aspect of it. as well. How much has that advanced since your playing days? And I think most people know, but this guy was a two-sport standout here at Furman, soccer and football. So you got to see it from a couple of different angles as a player on the male side, and now you're coaching on the female side in your 19th year, all-time winningest SoCon coach, by the way. But how has that part of what you do changed from your playing days now to where we are in 2023?
Well, it has certainly changed significantly. The resources, the tools that are available to these student athletes is very, very impressive, and I'm proud of Furman University. They've stepped up in terms of how do we take care of these players on and off the field, mentally and physically. Something is working, though. I mean, it's people say, oh, well, these student athletes, they're soft or they need so much more. Hey, something is working. We're doing some amazing things with these athletes, and I take a look at what our cross country team is doing. I mean, the times that they are posting are just through the roof. So you can tell these kids today are soft or they haven't been challenged. Something's working. They are physically able to do things that people weren't doing 10, 15, 20 years ago. So I think it's working. I feel like once upon a time it was a little bit more of here's what I need as an athlete. I'm talking about myself in the 80s, and I had to kind of figure it out on my own. And now I think we've got the ability to say, here's some things that you need to be more successful, and we can provide you those tools. Now, what you do with those tools is up to you.
Right.
And that's what we talk to our players about all the time is you're going to have all the resources available to you, but you're going to have to put in the work.
What was your nutritional value like as an athlete in the 1980s?
I will tell you. All right, so the Paladin, they had some really good chicken fingers at the Paladin. And I swear I had those things every single day. I had the chicken fingers and French fries. There's no nutritionist on staff. We just made it up as we went along. So yeah, we made it work, but I'm a little jealous. I'm not going to lie. I'm a little jealous at all the resources, strength and conditioning. What the Bernardis are doing in strength and conditioning right now is unbelievable. And I'd invite anybody if they can go take a peek in that room when they've got teams working out. It's amazing. The energy is so high. So we've got some great coaches that are here to support these student athletes, and I love it when I talk about women's soccer. We are taking advantage of those resources.
I refuse to go down there because every time I do, Andre tries to make me work, and I'm just a broadcaster, man. The only thing that has to be in shape for me is my vocal cords. So
he's probably got something for that as well, though.
He probably does. He's one of those guys I say makes coffee nervous, man. He wakes up on fire and he goes to sleep on fire. So,
but if you see him and they do some unbelievable hours there, you see him at 6 a.m. and he is amped up, ready to go. You see him at 9 o'clock at night, he is amped up, ready to go. He and Caitlin are both awesome. Coach Farber does a lot of work with the women's soccer team. It is really impressive what they're doing over there.
And that aspect of it obviously has changed since you were an athlete as well, the training and part of it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So we were in the basement of Alley Gym, and we had maybe one or two machines set up down there. And I remember showing up as a football player, and they didn't call me Andrew. They called me Kicker. Jimmy Satterfield, Bobby Johnson, they called me Kicker. And they said, Kicker, go give us, show us what you can do for on the squat. And I said, which one's the squat rack? And they said, Kicker, you need to leave. Just leave. I didn't know. We didn't do anything that was strength and conditioning related. I played dumb a little bit because I didn't want to do extra work as a kicker. But yeah, it was a wonderful environment. It was a great environment. But college athletics has just gone through the roof in terms of what we're able to provide these young student athletes.
And in the old days, quote unquote, it was almost totally geared towards the male athlete, and now obviously we're seeing that the female athletes are being challenged in much the same way, and they're responding to those challenges.
They really are, and our players crave that. They need that. They want that environment, but we're so fortunate to have an environment where they're saying, so here's what we need specifically for female soccer players. And it's all about a more explosive first step, a quicker first step. How do we get some strengthening to limit ACL injuries? It is very specific to women's soccer, but obviously the intensity doesn't change at all with our strength and conditioning group. The consistency and the intensity is always incredibly high, but each individual movement is geared towards our players, which I love. And I talk to recruits, and there are recruits that are coming off of a high school environment. And do you do any strength and conditioning? Oh, yeah, well, the JV football coach makes us do bench and squat. okay, well, that's probably not the best for a female soccer player. I think there's still a lot of that happens, and I love that if you're going to compete at the Division I level, which Furman University is doing very, very well, you've got to be sport specific, and we certainly are.
So it's a little eye-opening, I would imagine, for some freshmen when they come on campus. You can tell them what's expected of them, and we talk about it from an academic standpoint all the time, but even from that aspect of it, from the strength and conditioning, before you even get onto the field and start practicing in a way they've never practiced before, that strength and conditioning component has to be a shock to the system.
It is, and our players normally adapt to it. We're going to try to recruit players that overachieve in the classroom, overachieve on the field, overachieve with strength and conditioning. So we're recruiting those types of kids that want that environment, but you're absolutely right. Some of them come in with a lot of experience. Some of them come in with zero.
We are visiting with Andrew Burr in his 19th season heading up the women's soccer program here at Furman, and they open SoCon play on Thursday here at Stone Stadium. We're recording this and dropping it on Tuesday afternoon, so you've got a couple of days to prepare, and to SoCon weekend, Thursday at home against ETSU, and then traveling to Western Carolina for a 1 o'clock match on Sunday, and that's usually the way these things work. You dive into it head first, and it's Thursday, Sunday, right?
Yep. So the way our season is set up, we do all of our non-conference games at the front half. We front load that, and then once Southern Conference play begins, we don't go outside of the conference anymore. So it's Thursday, Sunday throughout, and it's going to be a test. I mean, ETSU is very good. We've got them at home. Western Carolina. I look at the Southern Conference. I mean, really from top to bottom, it is so strong. So, what do these final four teams look like? I really don't know. I hope Furman's one of them, but it really could be any of the 10 schools. The parity has been so strong. So excited to see how it goes for the SoCon season. I think we challenged ourselves in the non-conference season where we're 4-3, but we played Georgia, we played South Carolina, we played Clemson, all three kind of top 20 teams. When we played South Carolina, they were 10th in the country, 0-0 at halftime. We had a 15-minute lapse in the second half, and we gave up 2 goals in 15 minutes. But very proud of our performance there. So hopefully some things happen in the non-conference season, Georgia, South Carolina, Georgia, Clemson in particular, that will help prepare us for this SoCon run.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. What can you take away from playing schools at that level, even in defeats, that you hope translates into success if lessons are learned when you get into conference play?
Yeah, and really you go into those games knowing that you're playing. South Carolina was 10th in the country. I think Clemson was 13th in the country. So we're playing the best teams in the country. These are teams that are competing for national championship. So we know we're going to get tested. I thought we did very well kind of defensively. I think we're going to be low risk in the back. I think we're going to be tough to score on. So I love that and kind of that blue-collar mentality, which is we're going to get shutouts. Goalkeeping has been very, very good. So if we can do that against Georgia, Clemson, South Carolina, then I like that it's potentially prepared us for that. So that's what we learn. But those are some really good teams, and what the Power Fives are doing across the board is really impressive.
When you have a situation like you do with some injuries and with young players, does it cause you to change your coaching philosophy at all, maybe even mid-course, mid-season?
Yeah, it does. And really, I want to put all of my players in a position where they can be successful. So it doesn't help to put somebody in against a top 10 team in the country just so they don't see success. But I mean, we've asked these young women to grow up quickly. I mean, we've got some freshmen that are starting, that are getting serious minutes, and that's the way you do it. You got to jump in, and traditionally we wouldn't play these freshmen quite as much as we have played them, and with some injuries, they've been asked to step up, and I think they've done really, really well.
So who are some of the names when folks come out to Stone Stadium on Thursday night that they should pay attention to?
Yeah, so we've got a really good core. We've got our 3 captains have done such a great job of leadership. CB, who's from Asheville, plays out of the back. Hannah Farr from Atlanta, Georgia, she'll be playing up top for us. Helen Gutierrez, she's from South Georgia, and she's our glue. She's our anchor. She's our quarterback. She's always given instructions. She's the one you're going to hear verbally kind of encouraging and dictating how we play. So I think those 3 really have done a great job with some leadership for us. We've got Valentina's done a great job for us. She has scored some goals. In Nieva's absence, we're asking some players to step up and try to find the back of the net, and Val's been one of them. Shania Diaz is incredibly technical on the ball. She's fun to watch. But we're encouraging everybody in our team, how do we get a little more attacking minded? Because end of the day, that's what's going to be, where we are as a team at the end is going to be, can we score goals?
Yeah, Valentina Mascara, who you referenced there, she's the one who transferred in from Winthrop prior to last season. She has 5 goals in your first 8 games.
Yeah, no, she's played very well. She's a natural goal scorer, and she's the one that, right place, right time. None of that is by accident. She just reads the game really well. She's hungry to score goals. She's ruthless in the box. She is a fun player to watch. So she's done really well. We've got a couple of freshmen that have come on, a couple of players from Birmingham, Alabama, Nora Roller, who is just gifted with some speed. She's done a great job up top for us. Maddie Massey, also from Birmingham, Alabama. Those are 2 freshmen that have gotten starts against top 10 teams in the country. And when we recruited them, I'm not sure they really expected, oh, wait a second, I'm going to start against South Carolina, or I'm going to start against Clemson. And they both responded really well. Nora scored the lone goal for us against Clemson when we went down there a couple weeks ago. So some fun players to watch, exciting players to watch, but they are blue-collar, and they're going to give max effort all the time.
What kind of player were you? How would you have described yourself? I mean, I just heard how you described Val. How would you have described Andrew Burr?
So there are 2 things I never describe. I don't want to describe how I was as a soccer player, and I never share my GPA. Those are things that I don't need to talk about. So Doug and I talk about it a good bit. So obviously I was playing here at Furman while Doug was at South Carolina, played against each other in Stone Stadium. I'm not sure either one of us ever crossed midfield on the defensive side. Mm-hmm. I did not defend. I was a goal scorer, and I didn't care about anything other than scoring goals, which may or may not have been a good quality. I guess it kind of worked, but yeah, that's what I was as a player. I think Doug would probably describe himself as well. And
so you were a kicker in both sports, basically.
I was a kicker in both sports. Yes. Kicking for points is all I did, whether I was trying to score a goal or kicking it through the uprights.
That's great.
But I knew there was a purpose what we're doing, and the purpose is to try to score goals.
Right.
And that's what I took seriously. That was my job. But Doug and I do laugh because we weren't doing a lot of defending back in the 80s.
You see, but in Doug's brand of soccer, scoring points is not always the most important thing, right?
No, this is true.
So I see. I like your offensive-minded way of thinking. So
you're welcome,
and I'll tell him that as well. Anything else our fans need to know about Thursday night? I would love to have a huge group of people there. Assume the students are going to be there, but we'd love to have a bunch of people show up.
Yeah, we've done a great job. We had a huge crowd last game. The band came out as well. They played the national anthem. They played at halftime. It was great having the band out there. We've got some great supporters. We had a supporter that's been a dear friend of mine, Tim Baden, late 80s, but he passed away last week, so that's been really tough on our program. But there are some staples in the stands, and it's whether it was Tim Baden, Carl Court, and his wife Lynn are at all the games. Elizabeth Davis is at all of our games. So we've got a great group of supporters. And I think that you look at our setting, you look at the stadium, you look at this beautiful campus, it's a nice way to spend a Thursday evening. So we would love for people to come out and support.
There are worse places to be right now, aren't there?
This is true.
Good stuff. It's always good to catch up with you, my friend.
Thank you. I appreciate everything you do. You are you're a big part of the Furman family, and I appreciate what you do for Furman Athletics and for the women's soccer program.
Well, we try to have a little bit of fun and spread the love around. I enjoy getting a chance to spend time with you and all of the coaches here on Inside Furman Athletics. Gives us an opportunity to do that. Hey, go out and knock off those bucks and those catamounts.
We got it. We're going to do it for you, Dan Scott.
All right, you do that. I'll be disappointed if you don't. How about that? That is Andrew Burr. This has been Inside Furman Athletics. And again, it is 7 o'clock on Thursday night, Stone Stadium, for the conference opener for the Furman women's soccer team against ETSU. Come out and see them if you can. We'll be back with another episode again next week. Until then, for Andrew, I'm Dan, as always saying God bless you, and so long, everybody.